Howdy, Ags. From the tailgate, the home of Aggie Football, is the coach and the delivery man. What up, Corey?
Hey, buddy.
Another week, another great deal of news in Aggie football as we get closer and closer to media days, as we get closer and closer to the 2023 football season. It's the dog days of summer when everybody is sitting here bored to hell with nothing but baseball on. Me being an Astros fan, obviously I do at least have something to watch. But let's not kid ourselves, right? Baseball does not satisfy that hunger.
No, not even close.
Today's episode, Corey, brought to you by Frida Homes, building Aggie dreams, custom home builders with over 15 years of experience in the Brazos Valley. If you're looking for someone that cares about you and the details you care about, contact Frida Homes. Visit them on Instagram at frida.homes or give Justin a call at 979-450-4466. When you call, just remember, everyone loves their Frida Homes. So, we also want to remind the viewers, the listeners, to email us at agstailgate@gmail.com. If you've got a topic, if you've got something you want to comment on, if you want to talk a little trash, if you want to give us a little bit of support, man. Questions from the tailgate, throw it out there. Agstailgate@gmail.com. You can also leave us comments on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe, and hit up our Facebook or our Instagram as well. Corey, we did get a couple of comments from last week's episode.
Good.
Greatest ever 370. A little bit big-headed already from that name. He asks if we can do a show about what will happen if things go right as opposed to if things go wrong. What happens if Jimbo lets Petrino do the cooking? Durkin improves the top 25 scoring defense from last year. So let's start there. Let's start with some positive vibes, Corey. What will happen? What will happen if Jimbo does let Petrino do the cooking on offense?
If Jimbo lets Petrino do the cooking on offense, I believe the offense could score, probably close to 40 points a game. If Jimbo sits back and lets this talented Aggie offense and comes together, and if they're as good as what I hear they look, what they could be from Jimbo, that we're talking 40-plus points a game. We're in every ball game, if not winning every ball game. I don't see too many people beating us on our schedule if we're scoring 40 points a game.
I would agree with you in the sense that I don't think so very many people would beat us if we're scoring 40 points a game. And I also agree with you that if Jimbo lets Petrino cook, this offense will be better. I mean, for sure, like at least 27 points a game. I mean, there's no question. I still question one thing. Even if Petrino's doing the cooking, I question one thing: the offensive line. And
I know
Petrino's not coaching the offensive line. The guy coaching the offensive line is the guy that was there last year and was pretty bad.
But we're trying to stay optimistic on this conversation. So we're saying the best if the offensive line stays healthy and they come together like they did not do last year. If they come together, I see this team.
Offense has the weapons to put up 40 a game, for sure.
I mean, I think we could go 11-1, 10-2 easily if our offense is kicking. And I think that our recruiting will be outstanding. I think what we've gotten already,
and
here's a 5 and 7 year. We're still recruiting like badasses, even though a 5 and 7 year.
Hold on. So yes, 100%. We're going to be positive.
Yeah.
Petrino does the cooking. offense will be better. We agree on that.
Everything's going to be better. If the offense is better, everything's better. The defense will be better. We'll get more turnovers. Other teams are going to have to do more things to just run the ball. So it'll help our defense. I mean, if our offense is better, it'll help our defense be more aggressive.
So his second,
back and just play against the run.
His second point was Durkin improves a defense that was top 25 in scoring. What's going to happen if that defense improves? Now, let me start by saying this. That defense was top 25 in scoring, but it was helped by a game where they allowed 3 points to UMass, 9 points to Miami, 0 points to Sam. So a little skewed.
Right.
They also allowed 42 to Mississippi State, 30 to South Carolina, 31 to Ole Miss, and 41 to Florida. Any team that wanted to run the football on this defense last year could run the football on this defense. Some of the teams we played didn't necessarily do much running the football. They, LSU specifically, hardly even tried to run the football for that matter. Corey?
Well, even that defense, so you look against South Carolina. In South Carolina, they didn't give up 30-something points on defense. The special teams gave up a
touchdown. The offense gave up a touchdown. Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, I mean, the defense didn't give all that up, but, I mean, yeah, it goes against the defense. It shows that their points per game were 30-something points, but the defense didn't give all that up.
They got the benefit. They got the benefit of playing against teams that knew they didn't have to score. Also, right? I mean, anybody that played us basically knew that they once they put like 2 touchdowns on the board, they were going to win the ball game. So it didn't really matter.
Exactly. That's why that's all the teams had to do was score a touchdown and run the ball the rest of the game.
But having said that, because we're positive today, because we are positive today, if that defense gets even better, what's the result?
Like we just said, I mean, if you're talking about an offense that's scoring 40-something points a game, that's going to be one of the top offenses in the nation,
you've
correct?
Gone from 40 to 40-something. I mean, like every time you talk, you go from like mid-30s to 40 to 40-something.
I'm positive. I'm being positive.
I got you.
I'm being positive.
I like it.
But if we're averaging 40-something points a game, we're only giving up 20, like our defense is better, like we're talking about, that's a 20-something point gap against SEC teams and out-of-conference teams. I mean, we're top 5 in the nation. We're knocking on the door of SEC championship and playing Georgia in the SEC championship game.
There you go. So, if all those things go well, and everything happens in a very positive way, we're competing for an SEC championship. Yes or no?
Right.
Santiago.
That's the thing. I mean, I always hope for the best and plan for the worst, and I'm planning for the worst right now.
I will say this with regards to the comment, by the way. I will say this and respond this way. Last week we talked about what happens if the offensive line plays well. We talked about the fact that this team is scoring at a high rate, right? Last week we talked about
scoring at a high rate. They're possessing the ball for longer. You know, when we were successful with Mond, we held the ball for.
I don't want to run that offense, buddy. I don't want to run. If we run that offense, our wide receivers still aren't getting any freaking play. And by the way, half of them will be gone next year. So no,
we won. We went 10 and we went. How many? 10-1 that year?
Yeah, but you won't win next.
10-1 season.
You won't win next year. So here's my thing. This thing better be high flying. It better be high flying. That's what I think. Anyway,
because you're worried about losing your recruits. Is that what you're worried about?
I'm worried about keeping the talent we got on campus. Yes, I am.
You got to worry about that every year, no matter if you win or lose.
Every year, but it's less likely to leave. It's less likely to leave if you win. But not only that, you got to play the players that are there, right? I mean, you got to give them an opportunity to go to the league. Because those 5 stars, by the way, they all want to go to the league. There's no question. The 4 stars all want to go to the league. And if they're sitting there and not getting any production, even though they're on the field, then they're not going to make it to the league. Sorry. See ya.
It's true. I agree.
You made me negative right there, Corey. You made me negative. I was going to go in a positive way.
I don't see it. Well, that's not your nature.
That's true. So we also got another comment. Santiago Gorbeshi took our back a little bit, says we are the most practical Aggies out here, which are few and far between. He thinks that our opinion is actually fairly on the line of truth, which I like to pride myself in a little bit of truth. So I do want to comment, with regards to that prior comment, is the fact that we did discuss some of the things that would happen if the defense was better because he played four defensive linemen all the time. We thought it'd be one of the top in the SEC. We thought that if the offensive line was productive, we'd be a 30-something point a game offense that would be pretty high flying. We have not stopped talking about the fact that this team is super loaded with talent at a lot of positions. So I'm not sure exactly why there's a comment that we're always negative. I mean, all we're doing is reacting to what's happening on the field. Huh?
Yeah, that's all we're doing. I mean, I'm sitting here thinking about our conversations that we're having. I wonder what other people are thinking about the Aggies. Like, what are we to them? Are we like, we're not like Vanderbilt, like the Georgia. They think of A&M, they're like, they're a middle-of-the-pack team. It bothers the hell out of me because everybody's drinking this maroon Kool-Aid all the time, that we listen to. Oh, we're the Aggies. We should beat Alabama. We should beat who the hell else is it? We can't beat Mississippi schools. It just drives me
LSU,
nuts.
Mississippi State. Well, you talk to David Nuno. David Nuno over at Texas.
That's I listen to Nuno and Lucci, and they're always, hey, we're the Aggies. Because this guy's saying we're pride. I mean, we're just trying to be honest with you. We're not. We think that we're an above-average team. We have great talent. Terrible. The coaching has not been good, and we can't get it right. It's very frustrating. We'll have one good season, and then we'll come right back down to mediocrity.
And that doesn't mean it cannot change. It doesn't mean that cannot change. What it means is that it hasn't happened yet. So,
well, look at Georgia. Look at Georgia, for instance. They were knocking on the door forever, and then they got Kirby Smart in there, right? And he's changed everything there. And every year, it seems like for the last 4 years or since he's been there, they've been challenging or.
But you say they were knocking on the door. They weren't under their prior regime. They weren't exactly knocking on the door. They were talented, and every year they won 9 games, 10 games, but they couldn't. They weren't exactly the team to beat ever during that time prior to Kirby Smart getting there. Kirby Smart gets there at the very second year he's there, they're playing for a national championship.
So are we the Georgia before the prior Kirby Smart? Is that what you're saying?
No, we're not. We're not even that. We're not even that right now. Right?
Gotcha.
At least
so that's what I'm asking. What are we?
They're winning 8-10 games back then.
Are we the Florida State team right before Jimbo left that was struggling to win and there was scrutiny everywhere?
Yeah, right now that's exactly who we are. That's exactly who we are.
That's not what I want to be.
No, absolutely not. If you want to look at it.
That's what bothers the hell out of me when I listen to Texags. I mean, I like listening to those guys. They're very informative. But they drink that maroon Kool-Aid like, oh, we got this and this and this. No, we don't. We have a terrible offensive line. We had one last year. We haven't made many changes, if any at all. I mean, in the coaching didn't show up last year. Why would you think it's going to show up this year on the offensive line?
Yeah.
The only thing that I'm hopeful for is that Petrino got those guys in shape and told them, say, hey, y'all sucked.
Look,
somebody has to get up their ass and tell them, say, hey, y'all sucked.
We have one thing this year that we can hang our hat on as far as a change in philosophy. And that is Petrino, right? Because Durkin's the same guy that was here last year, and I don't know that people understand this, but when Jimbo hired Durkin, he took him from Ole Miss, where in 2 years prior to being here, Ole Miss was one of the worst defenses in the country.
Yeah.
Not in the SEC.
Doesn't make any sense.
In the country. And the year before he was here, Ole Miss was a middle-of-the-pack defense. Oh, but they showed all this improvement in year 2. Yeah, improvement to middle of the pack. And by the way, the only team that they stopped was A&M. So, the fact of the matter is...
And you take Elko, you lose Elko, and he goes to Duke. What does he do at Duke?
Oh, yeah. All of a sudden, Duke is a 10-win team. You know what I mean?
Go figure. I mean, they had a shitty schedule, but
sure.
Who cares? They won games. We didn't have a fucking crazy schedule. We lost to App State. I don't think Duke would have lost to them.
Then we lost to App State, we lost to both Mississippi schools, and we lost to a horrible, horrible Auburn team that had fired their coach. Horrible Auburn.
Exactly.
So
So I mean, I'll give Elko credit. Elko, good job, man. Good job.
yeah, you got
But
to.
I
You
can't
got to.
be. I mean, I want to be positive on this team, but I'm being positive that the coaching's been bad. Until they show me something different, I can't be positive. Hard to be positive.
And like I said, that's why we have to hang our hat on the Petrino hire, right? That is the guy that
Exactly.
we have to put our money behind that dude. That dude. And that's scary because that dude has also flamed out on a couple places. So, you know, the question is he going to be better than Jimbo? I think the clear answer to that question is yes. I don't hesitate for a second in answering that question.
So I'm sitting here thinking, this is bothering the hell out of me. I'm thinking where the Aggies are. What if we compare them to one team in the nation right now? I got one team in mind. Who would you compare us to? The team that has the talent but just sucks at coaching all the time.
Tennessee prior to Heupel.
I'm thinking Texas Longhorns.
Texas Longhorns is a good one.
They have talent all the time. They had Bijan Robinson last year. They had what's his name at quarterback, the talented, everywhere. They just suck.
Yeah, yeah.
They
No,
just suck.
that's
You know what I'm saying? I hate to say it like that, but
that's a good point.
that's close
Underperforming every year,
comparison.
right? Underperforming every year.
Yeah,
How about a Penn State?
Penn State. Yeah, love it. Penn
Yeah.
State, another great.
Const-
It's
Constantly underperforms. Expectations are through the roof.
USC. USC's been right there also. Now, I
Yeah,
mean, I think USC's made the right hire. I
they made
mean,
the right
they're
hire.
in the right division.
And that's the thing, right? And we talk about this. We've talked about this before. Everybody always talks about, hey, you got to give guys time to build a program, build a program, build a program. You know what? No, you don't. No, you don't.
No, you don't.
Coaches, great coaches show up day one, and by year two, they're winning. Heck, go look at Riley at Oklahoma. What he did. Now
Right.
he got handed a pretty good program. USC was way down. By year one, boom, those guys won 10 games.
He knew what he had to
last year.
bring in.
Yeah,
Look at our baseball coach. I think our baseball program might be the best on the way up because I trust that guy. I mean, he came in with nothing. He got transfers. Took us to our College World Series. This year they were
yeah.
down because pitching wasn't what it was, but he's a great coach. I think he's going to win no matter where he goes.
The difference shows right off the bat. Go look at
Right.
you can look at LSU when Saban got there. You can look at LSU when Brian Kelly got there. You can look at Georgia when Kirby Smart got there. You can look, there is example after example of when those things happen. Look at Ohio State when
Urban Meyer,
Urban Meyer showed up. Look at Florida when Urban Meyer showed
Florida.
up. Right?
Yeah. I mean,
Great
he won at
coaches.
Utah. He won
show-
everywhere he went.
They show up, they get better, and they compete immediately.
Exactly.
It's not a 6-year build. And then everybody was
No.
like, well, Georgia didn't win until year 5 or whatever. Well, no, but they were in the championship game in year 2, right? Championship game in year
They're
2.
playing for SEC championships. They're going to the college football championship games. They're in the conversations. We're not even in the freaking conversations.
So that's what I think this year is the one time when we can sort of look at this A&M team and say, here's where my hope is. And that hope comes with Bobby Petrino. That's what I think. That's what I believe.
Well, that's all we can really hang our hat on right now.
The one
And I mean, because we know what the offensive line showed us last year in that coaching. We know what the defense showed us under Durkin. The freaking talent's there. And you tell me you could put Saban, Smart, even Lincoln Riley, one of those coaches at A&M right now, we wouldn't be a 10-win team.
I think with
11?
any one of those 3 coaches you just named, and this team is competing for a championship. I do think so. The one thing
I see that.
another thing we can hang our hat on, even with this coaching staff and with Jimbo Fisher, that we know he can do is recruit. Let's talk a little bit of recruiting.
Yeah, no matter. I mean, no doubt. If we said tomorrow, Jimbo, we're not going to fire you. We're going to keep you. We're going to pay you a shit ton of money, but we're going to have somebody else coaching the team. We just want you to run recruiting.
Yeah. We'd be super successful if we could get the right guy. Because here's the thing, that dude brings in talent. He brings in talent every year.
Yeah.
And look, we always say, I don't understand why these wide receivers show up at A&M, because the numbers, once they're here, and them leaving after the fact, there's no numbers to support great talented wide receivers to come here, right? There's nothing there. but yet he
Not,
keeps
it kills me. That's what we
bringing.
talked about on the phone yesterday or today, wasn't it? We were like, why are these people signing with A&M? What are we showing them?
But he still does it, and that's a testament to the absolute, absolute phenomenal job he does in the recruiting trail. You can't take that away from him. He did it at Florida State. He does it here. There's no question the dude can absolutely bring in talent, and he has since he got here, right?
All the salesman.
We were 5-7 last year. The 2024 class right now has 16 commits. They're ranked in the top 10. They just this is just since the beginning of June, so this is not even like a full 2 months, a month and a half, right? Just since the beginning of June. Cameron Coleman,
Cameron Coleman,
5-star wide receiver out of Alabama. Okay,
Alabama. Why? He's from Alabama. 5-star, 8th best player in the nation.
A guy that his coach, who used to coach Megatron, compared him to Calvin Johnson. Okay, his
Exactly.
coach.
Yeah, I heard that.
Draylon Miller, wide receiver out of Sylvia, another high 4-star wide receiver, right? Ty Anthony Smith, linebacker, high 4-star out of Jasper. Weston Davis, an offensive tackle out of Beaumont, 4-star. Jordan Lockhart, linebacker, St. Bosco, California, 4-star. Jalen Hornsby, another wide receiver out of New Jersey, 4-star. Eric Carner, tight end out of Illinois, that's a 4-star. Cohen Eccles, an interior offensive lineman out of Katy who develops offensive line like crazy, a 3-star guy. Gabriel Relaford, an edge out of Louisiana, who's a rising 3-star big-time athlete. Miles O'Neill, a quarterback out of New Jersey, who's a pocket passer, a 3-star guy. All those guys are in since the beginning of June. Since the beginning of June. Those guys have come and showed up here for the recruiting visits and signed and committed, man. And you want to talk about big time? That's production on the recruiting trail, baby.
Yeah, I'm not doubting his recruiting. It just kills me that a 5-star wide receiver, the number 8 player in the nation,
number 1 receiver in the country,
chooses Texas A&M.
6'3", 180 pounds, going into his senior season.
I mean, I love it. Don't get me wrong. I love it. I just don't get it. I don't get it. Alabama's putting players in the pros left and right from the wide receiver position. A&M is not.
Yeah, I mean, but here's the thing: we talk about
Ohio
it.
State's putting players in. I mean, I just don't get it.
We talk about it. So far, he's got 2 quarterbacks. Hey, Petrino can recruit 2 quarterbacks. He's got 4 wide receivers in the class, 3 offensive linemen. He still needs a couple more because I think that offensive line group's got to be a great one. 2 D linemen,
right.
3 linebackers. We have been hurting for linebackers, right? That's huge. 3 linebackers.
It doesn't make any sense. We used to be linebacker U.
Tight end and safety. I mean, honestly, this is an impressive haul already, and we're in the first week of July.
No, I mean, yeah, I got you. I mean, we got a long ways, but like you said, I mean, it all comes back to how the season plays out. And if what they're saying, we're drinking that maroon Kool-Aid, then we're going to have a great season. I'm not drinking it yet. You show me something on the field, and then I'm not afraid to give people credit when credit's due, but I'm also not afraid to be like, hey, that they sucked last year. The offensive line sucked. The defensive coaching sucked.
They have to earn it.
Exactly. I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, well, this could happen. Well, it could. You saw what could happen last year when you suck.
Listening to what I just told you, what they've got in that recruiting class for 24, is there a position there that you think needs some attention?
I like the linebackers. We have the wide receivers covered. I don't see any running backs on there. I don't see any defensive backs. What are the defensive backs? I don't see too many of them.
Absolutely. There you go. And that's exactly what I was going to hit on. I'm talking about corners. Corners. They need to hit corners big. And that's a position of need. We've got some guys from this past season and then some of the transfer guys, but they need to start hitting those cornerbacks right now for this 24 class, man. That's a position of need, and that to me is the one deficiency that I see here as well. I'm positive that Jimbo's going to do that. But once again, this team struggles again in 23. Some of these guys are not going to sign on the dotted line in December. That's just how it goes.
No, that's just a fact. This is the way the world works.
So,
It gives other teams ammo to come after you whenever you suck.
so let's talk a little bit about something that came on today. Phil Steele had a conversation with the folks over at Texas. I think he was with Nuno, right? And
Right.
if you go back and you go look at his magazine and everything else, and Corey, you love the magazines.
I read the shit out of it.
Yeah,
I'm in my bathroom all the time.
yeah. Well, he's normally a big, huge Texas guy, right? And I'm sure he is
Right.
again this. I'm sure he is again this year. But
Oh, they're going to win it all.
he's pretty high on the Aggies this year. He comes
Yeah.
out, and the first one is that he predicts the Aggies as one of the teams that's going to take the biggest jumps in wins this year. Thoughts on that?
That's not really hard to say. I mean, geez, they won 5 games last year. They win 8 this year. That's a 3-win turnaround. I mean, a lot of teams, unless you won like 1 game last year, you win 4 this year. I mean, who else in the teams that he's talking? I mean, I need to have some.
Thank you, Captain Obvious, right? Like, well, no
Exactly.
duh. You mean one of the
Yeah.
teams that's recruited in the top 10 over the last 4 years and won 5 games last year is going to take a big jump? Thank
Yeah.
you, Captain Obvious. All right.
But I mean, yeah, no, I agree with him. I think that they are going to be better, but it's just like I said. I mean, unless that offensive line, you and I went through it last week about the schedule, and there's a lot of games that are up in the air. We don't know what's going to happen.
So let me tell you some of the things he talked about, and some of the reason he gave for this. Right? He said, and he's very high on the Aggies, right? But he said last year they were very inexperienced. He said he had them ranked at 124 in experience, in his experience chart is what he calls it. They also had injuries. Right. They had injuries. They had to go through 3 different quarterbacks. And then he contrasted that with this year, saying 10 starters back on offense, 10 starters back on defense, loaded with talent, and a jump in experience that puts them in the top echelon. Let me start with last year and his commentary there, because first of all, the 3 quarterback comment, Haynes King got benched, so it is what it is, right? Max Johnson didn't do anything, and then Connor Wigman had 2 good games as a freshman. So you can give him the comment on Connor Wigman. Understood.
Right.
The fact of the matter is that Jimbo didn't develop.
Why are you so down on my boy Max, by the way? I like Max.
Max is a great backup. How about that?
Yeah, I think he's a great backup. I mean, the guy got thrown in the games against crappy offensive line work and poor play.
In the last week or so,
at LSU. The guy's a guy can be a gamer.
In the last week or so, let me tell you this: I've heard guys come in and say, "Oh no, Max is the more talented quarterback out of the group," but he doesn't always read right and all this stuff. They're trying to make Max into this like huge.
Who said that?
I'll think about that. I can't remember who was saying it, but it was a quarterback guy. Like, this guy's supposedly a quarterback. Either way, my point being
Max's dad.
Yeah, maybe.
Big Bad Brad.
Big Bad Brad. Look, I love Max, but Max is an average quarterback. Can he be productive with good talent on the field? Yes, he can. He can be a productive player, but he's never going to be a guy that carries a team consistently throughout a season. He's not Joe Burrow. He's not going to be, Tua. He's not
Johnny. You're saying he's not Johnny. You're always looking for the next Johnny. He's not Johnny.
He's not Johnny. But he's not even half of that.
I'll tell you one thing: he's better than Haynes King. That's my assessment of the guy. He's better than Haynes King.
I would agree with that. He's probably better than Haynes King, even though he lost.
Probably.
He lost a head-to-head competition, according to Jimbo. So there you go.
Well, we're talking about Jimbo here.
Head-to-head competition lost. So
yeah.
My point being is this: the excuse of 3 quarterbacks. I mean, they all played and they all played poorly. So this idea that like it makes it sound like all these guys just got hurt and whatever. Yeah, they did get hurt. Max and Haynes both got hurt, but they were also playing like crap before they got hurt. So don't
You
make
say
it
they play
sound.
like crap. You can't play well behind the offensive line like that. You cannot play well. I don't care who you are.
Let me get to that.
I was about to say you
So-
cannot.
So we talk, they talk about all the injuries and everything else. And look, one of the big injuries is offensive line wise. They talk about Foster. Okay. They talk about the left guards, with Moko and Aggie getting hurt in this. Let me. I can't say this.
Aki. Why are they talking about Aki?
I can't say this clear enough. Moko and Aggie were not better than Dewberry anyway. Dewberry played better than both of those guys once he got in the game after they got hurt. So,
Because I think Zoom played hurt for a long time.
so let's just take that out of the equation. They chose the wrong dudes. All right. Number 2, Foster. Foster never played last year, by the way. So the fact this idea that it was because of injury. Look, Foster didn't play the year before. He was hurt then too. He doesn't practice in the offseason. And when he has been on the field, the very few plays he's been on the field, by the way, he's been our worst offensive lineman. Period. I can't say that clear enough. He's been our worst offensive lineman. The only guy that gives him any kind of competition in that is the guy with the most experience in our right guard, Robinson, because he was damn near as bad as Foster last year. Damn near. So,
And then we lose our backup, Foster's backup, or I guess guy should have been the starter, Wyckoff, right?
right. Wyckoff played a lot better than Foster, if you ask me. And
He's gone.
He gone. By the way, he also practiced all the time. So
Yeah.
So yes, the experience factor comes back. Depends how you look at it, right? He's looking at guys. How many guys actually started games last year? Oh yeah, they got all these 10 guys coming back.
Right.
On offense, somewhat. On defense, well, we know we've got at least 2 starters gone in the secondary, right? We got at least 2 starters gone in the secondary, for sure.
How you bring 10 players back and you had 2 starters gone in the secondary? Numbers don't make sense. Are we playing 12 players on defense?
Numbers don't make sense. Thank you, Corey.
They don't make sense. You lose 2 starters, but you have 10 returning defensive starters.
Having said that, this team does bring back a lot of guys that got playing time. They absolutely do bring back a ton of guys that got playing time. I think offensive line wise, and here's the big one, right? Dewberry, I think getting the start from the jump at left guard is an improvement. The dude was super solid last year as a freshman, thrown into the fire. I think he's just going to continue to get better. Now, Zoom got a ton of playing time last year. He should be better with more experience, right? Supposedly he wasn't healthy also. But if you get back into it and all of a sudden you're starting Besantis at one of the tackles again, it's another freshman. That just takes away from anything you've built over that time period, right? Takes away from it all.
I don't see Besantis starting against over Zoom.
And, well, if he's not healthy.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
And maybe they move Fathery over to the left side and start Besantis on the right side. Who knows? Ultimately, the whole group is going to have to play a ton better. But Robinson's going to have to be one of those guys that plays a lot better. Fathery's going to have to be one of those guys that plays a lot better. And you want to talk about experience on that offensive line. Those guys were experienced coming into last year, right?
Exactly.
Fathery started all year as a freshman. Robinson started, the last 2 years. So these guys are guys that have had the experience. New offensive line coach, and they got worse. Father got worse from his freshman year to his sophomore year. Robinson got worse from his junior year or sophomore year to his junior year, right?
Junior year, yeah.
So don't tell me it's all about experience. The fact of the matter is the guy coaching that offensive line didn't do his job. And those guys got worse from the year before to this past year. If that doesn't turn around, it doesn't matter how experienced they are, they're still going to suck. Right?
True.
Now, I'll tell you this. even if the offensive line is as bad as it was last year, I still think the offense is better because I think Petrino is such a much better play caller than Jimbo. I still think they're better.
Well, that's the thing. If you know the offensive line is bad and it's going to be the teams are getting pressure on you, you're going to run more, hopefully, screen passes or quick passes, quick hitches, something to make the teams pay for getting upfield so fast on you. You know?
You hear a lot of the Aggies, including all these guys that are talking on the radio, including Steele, including, the guys at SEC podcasts and, Mike and all those. And they're all like, well, A&M beat LSU last year. They beat them pretty good. That offense looked great last year when they played LSU. And that's where a lot of this confidence is coming from. However, the one thing that you gotta go look at and watch that game. Go watch that game. Because that game was most about our wide receivers. It was about our wide receivers and the fact that when Connor threw the ball up for grabs consistently, those dudes came down and made plays, whether it was Moose, who had like 2 just phenomenal, unbelievable, like top of the year, best of the year type catches in that game, and Stewart, by the way, who had another couple of just huge, huge catches in that game where he took the ball away from defenders, right? So, those are plays those wide receivers are making. To me, this offense has an opportunity to be better because those wide receivers, those offensive weapons have the talent to make those kind of plays. And that is where this thing can differentiate itself. What do you think?
No, I agree. I think so too, man. I think the wide receiver talent's great. Connor, like I said, man, I think this offense, everything's going to depend on that offensive line. I think Petrino is a great hire. I don't know. I'm excited. I'm ready for the season to start tomorrow to see what's going to happen.
Yes, the season cannot get here soon enough, that's for sure. The other thing, and we talked about this before, I do worry with regards to those wide receivers. Can we get this offense going at a fast enough pace to where all those guys are getting looks? Moose, Anias, Stewart, Thomas, the tight ends, Green, Max. How about the running backs? Daniels. So with all those...
that's got to be something that they're selling to these guys, that the offense has got to be faster in order to get these kind of recruits all the time. They've got to be selling them something like that because there's no way you can get a Moose, Anias, Stewart, all these guys in the field, and everybody's like, why are they going there? It doesn't make any sense.
And think about last year. Think about last year, right? Last year,
yeah.
Moose couldn't get on the freaking field until Anias got hurt. Right? He couldn't find himself on the field. Jimbo's already said Thomas is a starter, so where's Moose at? Is he going to bench Anias?
He's coming off the bench. Because he's not going to bench Stewart. He's not going to bench Anias. Not going to bench Green. You got to go with a tight end and 3 wides, right?
And that's my point, right? So now, what are we really looking at Moose off the bench? Moose was the best player on this offense at times last year. The best player.
Oh, I agree. I totally agree. But
that includes A-Chain.
That's going to be a lot of
that
depth.
Includes A-Chain and Stewart, by the way. A-Chain and Stewart included.
I don't know.
They're gonna look. This offense has to get explosive and it has to get faster. For the group of talented players that we have on the roster to stay satisfied and project to the next level, there has to be some guys just absolutely blowing it up. People believe that Stewart's going to be one of the best receivers in the SEC. They believe that. People outside of the Aggie world believe that. They should believe that about Moose. They should believe that about Anias. They should believe that.
Why wouldn't you believe that about Moose? We saw what he can do. It's a matter of getting him on the field.
Yeah.
Maybe part of it's Moose getting his head on straight. I don't know.
If he was on the field, though, he was productive.
Yeah.
Even 2 years ago, for that matter.
I know. We were talking about him the year before that. It was like, well, we'd said that about a lot of the players. We didn't understand why they weren't on the field.
And that's
Preston. We said that about Preston.
That hope combined with Petrino that brings the hope of the system changing, the hope of the tempo changing, the hope of the explosiveness changing. The hope of getting this thing going and being a much simpler scheme that lets let players play and not have to think so much. That hope, combined with the talent that we just talked about, with the talent that people throughout the country believe is some of the best skilled talent in the country. That includes Georgia, that includes Michigan, that includes Ohio State, that includes USC. Some of the best skilled talent in the country. That is the reason that this offense has the potential to do what exactly you said, which is score 40 a game. You know? That is it.
I thought we were going to do that last year.
That is it. But they got to let it go. They got to let it go. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. They got to go out there and not be afraid to succeed. It's like they're almost afraid to succeed. I think once they start to succeed, nothing's going to stop them. It's like if we would have played that LSU game, the first game of the season, I think our whole season would have been different.
Yeah, I mean,
they come out there, Connor throws the ball up to Moose, he goes and gets it. Connor has confidence in Moose, Moose has confidence, Jimbo has confidence. The whole confidence thing is huge around here.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I still think
it's like watching a guy on your team hit a home run. It's contagious. The next guy, everybody starts hitting. You know?
Yeah.
Baseball's like that.
I still think that ultimately you're not consistently that good until your offensive line is better, right? I do believe
Well,
that.
I think the offensive line needs consistency also in the play calling. It has to be consistent. I think a lot of it goes
Look at Tennessee.
Jimbo.
Look at Tennessee last year. You watched Tennessee last year. That offense was humming, right? Best in the country.
It's
Best in the
consistent.
country.
Heupel's very consistent in his calls. He's flowing. He's like, hey, let's go. It's not, all right, let's take a second.
What happened when they played Georgia?
No, he's like,
what happened when they played Georgia?
I can't remember.
Their offensive line got absolutely manhandled, and they just couldn't do it. Not consistent.
It happens.
Not consistent. So
you gotta see if Heupel can learn.
And mind you, Georgia's defensive front was ridiculous, right? Absolutely.
Hey, if we had Heupel here, how good do you think the Aggies would be?
With this talent? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I mean, you're scoring 50.
I might have to give him a call.
Hey,
see if he wants to be the OC.
I'm going to bring my OU guy in and see if we can give him a call. Hey, look, let's move into the defense a little bit.
Go ahead.
Look, on the other hand, that defense I do think is bringing back a lot of experience. There's a couple of spots where you have some concern here. One is that opposite cornerback, right? Everybody's got their chips into the Grimes basket. Grimes was a cornerback in the ACC on one of the worst defenses in the country at North Carolina, right? Everybody's got him penciled in as the next big thing at corner. They've got another ACC guy that's a transfer in the mix.
From Boston College.
The guy from Boston College, right? And I'm not saying that these guys can't be good players. I'm not saying that they can't be good players. What I'm saying is they certainly haven't proven that they're any good as far as what it takes to play in the SEC. I mean, Grimes,
I agree with
Grimes
you,
wasn't on a good defense in the ACC.
A lot of it, I think, is coaching. Grimes has the talent to do great things, but it's hard to be a shutdown corner when your defensive play calling sucks. When you're running a three-man front and the quarterback has all day to throw the ball, they can run the ball.
Nobody's going to cover for 6 seconds, right? That's just not going to happen.
If you're not putting pressure on that quarterback, you're not running a four-man front, and you have four badasses right there that we do have. We have 8 or 10 of them on that D-line that can get after the quarterback and let them go get them. And you're not dropping two of your D-line guys into pass coverage for some damn reason.
And that's a great point there, Corey, because we talk about that deficiency in the secondary. At the end of the day, I think we've got pretty good talent in the secondary. I think if you implement the talent up front, use your talent up front, the secondary is going to have a chance to make a ton of plays, right? A ton of plays.
It's a team sport. It's the best team sport there is. It's football because everybody has to work as a unit. The D line's not any good. The secondary's going to struggle. If the secondary's not any good, the D line's going to look like shit. You see what I'm saying?
And you look at it though, and we talk about the experience, and he talks about and Phil still talks about 10 guys coming back. But at the end of the day, who actually got sack production on this defense that's coming back from last year?
I don't even know off the top of my head. What's his name got hurt the first or second game? I thought he's going to have a good year.
I think Diggs missed half the year, and he might have been our best sack guy, right? He might have led the team in sacks.
I mean, he missed more than half the year, I think. I mean, he was out for a long time. What's his name? Transferred out. He was one of the leading sack getters in the first 3 games. At Abikwe or whatever. What's his name?
Oh yeah.
What's the guy's name? The guy that transferred. I can't remember his name. He's number 30.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I know who you're talking about. And now I can't remember.
Yeah, weird name, dude. He transferred to.
He's no longer.
Michigan State.
He's no longer in this team. I don't keep up anymore.
No, but he was good. I mean, I don't know. I mean, the sack guy. I don't know who our sack guy is.
And don't get me wrong, I do think that look, once again, if Durkin lets these guys play, we will get pressure. McKinley Jackson staying healthy is going to be big. I think Nolan in his second year is going to be a lot better. I think Shamar Turner
these guys are going to be a lot better. They're all going to be.
I think Shamar Turner is about to make himself known around the country, by the way. I think Shamar Turner is about to make himself known around the country. Fidel Diggs has to stay healthy. He can be a productive guy. Malik Silla, Overton. There's just so many.
So much. That's what I'm saying.
Stewart.
8, 10, 12 deep. Now you're talking about Brown, Dinlo,
Brunlo Dindy, another guy, White, White. We haven't even mentioned half these guys, right? And
he's the big guy that blocked the field goal last year in the game, number 15, defensive line guy. We don't even talk about him anymore.
And nor the freshman Hicks, who is the best defensive lineman in the country coming in this year. So, there's talent. He has to let them play. And if he lets that group play, the whole defense is going to get better. And simplify for those linebackers, the 2 linebackers you got on the field. Cooper and whoever number 2 is, whether it's Russell, whether it's, one of the freshmen, York, or Harris from, the sophomore, whoever that second guy is, and getting those reps. At the end of the day, simplify, man. Keep it simple and let them use their athleticism, which they have plenty of, in order to go make plays. I'll tell you something.
If our number 2 linebacker is Russell for most of the season, we're going to be in trouble. That's just if I watch that guy, he just looks like he's lost.
I would agree.
He doesn't excel in any facet of the game.
He's got no football instincts whatsoever.
No, Cooper can cover somebody out of the backfield. I think if they let Cooper loose, he could be really good, but I just don't see Russell he can't cover guys out of the backfield. He doesn't get in the right position to make stops on run plays. He doesn't get up to the quarterback. I think last year in the games I watched, he might have got lucky sometimes and been in the right place.
Yeah, he'll never be a top-notch linebacker. He just doesn't have those linebacker instincts and the feel for the game, right?
Right.
And honestly, he's not an extremely physical guy either. So, he's not physical and he doesn't have instincts. It's like you're just basically. I mean, what is the thing that puts him on the field, right? What's the reason?
He looks like a fullback. He should be at fullback or something.
Yeah. So
that's my call. I don't know.
But I do think, and I think you agree with tons and tons of potential there, man. And this team has everything in front of them to go do Georgia, Alabama, LSU things, right?
That's the frustrating part about it is we have the talent. We know we have the talent at every position, even linebacker. Y'all might say, "Oh, we don't." Oh, you put Cooper on Alabama's team. Cooper's fighting for All-American status. Put him somewhere where they know how to use him. Georgia, he get playing time at Georgia. I'm just telling you, Cooper's can play.
Physically, he's got it. So
exactly.
A couple of other ones. So now, going back to Phil Steele, he talked about Petrino and Fisher, and he says they will coexist. I've said this. I 100% 100% believe that Petrino is going to have a better offense than Fisher. There's no question whatsoever. My question comes in the day that they're on the field and they are playing, I don't know, Auburn in week 4, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're playing Auburn in week 4, and the offense is struggling. It's the third quarter. They're down 14-7. And it becomes critical time. And Petrino's just can't get things moving. Is Jimbo going to stay out of the way? Because I don't think so. I don't think it's going to happen.
I think he will. He stayed out of the way on Durkin last year when Durkin sucked at play calling on defense.
It's because Jimbo doesn't give
Jimbo's
two
not a
shits.
defensive
He doesn't
guy.
give two shits about that defense.
I think he does.
Doesn't give two shits.
I mean, if you're the head coach, you got to give a shit about the whole team. That's the purpose of being the head coach. You can't just you can focus on stuff, but you have to.
You know as well as I do that dude during defense was over there talking to the quarterback. So.
Oh, I know, but I'm just saying. No, I think he's going to stay out of his way. That's what he brought Petrino in for, and I think he respects Petrino. Petrino's an older gentleman. He's going to respect him. If it was a young coach, very short leash.
I think that he will stay out of his way until everybody's behind is in the fire. And
that's not going to be game 4.
You don't think that a loss to Auburn in game 4 is a very big predictor of how the rest of this season is going to go? Because I do.
No, I think a loss to Miami.
Maybe a loss to Miami, but even after that. Auburn's a team that's going to have a first-year head coach with no talent on that roster, man. If you are sitting in that position,
they have some talent. It's just not
his talent.
Joe, I mean, look. They said the same thing about LSU last year, and look what.
No. Let's be clear. LSU still has been recruiting, my friend, and Auburn.
No, remember what LSU lost before the season last year? They were losing players left and right.
Sure, absolutely.
We didn't see LSU winning the West.
No, I will agree.
Nobody called that.
I would agree with you. I didn't see it either. But
I mean, I don't see Hugh Freeze coming in and winning the West, but I'm saying it wouldn't surprise me if he won a few games he wasn't supposed to.
And if you're those,
I mean, who's their quarterback?
If you're one of those wins that he's not supposed to get, there's a problem in year 6 under Jimbo Fisher with the talents on this roster. I don't care what anybody says. You lose to Auburn next year. You lose to Auburn next year, and they should fire everybody on staff. Everyone.
It would not surprise me one freaking bit if they lost that game. Right? I mean, there's not many games after what we did last year. Not many games that would surprise me.
I didn't say it would be a surprise. I'm saying that it would be a fireable offense.
Yep, we're saying positive.
Yeah, it won't happen. The other comment that I found pretty funny is your boy Nuno, and he's talking about Wigman, and he says, Wigman, the architect behind the LSU win. Whoa. I love me some Connor, man. I think he's going to do a great job this year. But let's not kid anybody. He wasn't the architect of anything. He threw some balls up, which his wide receivers made big plays on. He had a running back that was special. Last year, he was just the guy distributing the ball. That's all he was, period. And sometimes he wasn't even that.
Yeah.
Finishing off the Phil Steele conversation here. High on, he thinks in the SEC West. You've got Bama, LSU, and A&M. He's high on the Aggies. He's high on LSU. He's high on Bama. He's high on Bama in spite of the fact that they're inexperienced. He says it's Nick Saban. Of course.
Right.
It makes a lot of sense. He's high on LSU because they also have a lot of experience coming back. Makes a lot of sense. Not to mention, they won the West last year. So all those things make sense. I can't really argue against any of that. I would love it if it came to fruition where we're right there in the mix with it. Questions from the tailgate, Corey. Brought to you by David Coffin PLLC, Tax Controversy and Litigation Lawyers. Smart solutions for federal tax issues, experience, respected representation for taxpayers over 20 years of experience in tax controversy. Call 817-251-7049. All right, first question. What is the best case scenario for the Aggies in 2023? What's the best case scenario? Absolute best.
Best case scenario, that offensive line comes out and they are ballers. They stay healthy. We stay healthy as a team all season. We have a couple hiccups here and there. Secondary plays great. The D-line is the best in the nation. We lead the nation in sacks and quarterback hurries. We lead the nation in turnover margin. We go 11-1. There's one hiccup in there. We go to the SEC championship game, and I don't know. We give Georgia a fight, and we win that, and we go to the, either win or lose 11-1. You're in the college football playoff.
Yeah, I think that their potential is that high. I do. I agree.
I think so too.
I think their potential is that high. Their talent level is that high, to where you're competing.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. The talent level is that high. Connor Wegman's that good. The wide receivers are that good. The running game, I'm not worried about. As long as the offensive line holds up, I'm not worried about it. The D line, I'm not worried about. The linebackers with Cooper, I'm a little nervous about his running mate. Secondary, we have a lot of talent in the secondary. I'm not as worried about the secondary either.
I worry about
two
things,
coaching.
And it's it's repetitive, right? Offensive line coach and defensive coach. Those are the things I worry about. That's it. Otherwise, I think that the highest point for this team is national championship contention. Question number 2: will the offense or the defense be the biggest difference from the 5-7 season in 2022? So will we see more improvements from the offense or from the defensive side?
More improvements from the offensive side. The defense will be stout. You'll see, hopefully, Durkin's got his head out of his ass and won't do a 3-man front anymore ever again the rest of his life. I don't care. But the offense is going to be the biggest difference in a 5 and, scoring 10 and whatever, or 11 and whatever, or 9 and whatever. It's going to be the offense. We've got to score more points. We've got to move the ball. We got to go with a sense of purpose instead of just sitting around waiting for everybody to see what happens, see what plays next. I hate that the way they just.
I think it's sort of two-faceted. I think our offense is the biggest reason we get to 9-10 wins. I think our defense is the biggest reason we get to 11-12 throughout the season, including playoffs, SEC championships.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
I hear you.
One last little bonus here, a little bonus for the fans. Early national champion prediction.
Right now, USC.
Ooh. All right, I'm going to give you mine.
I just say that because I think they have the easiest path to it because they don't play that much competition. I mean, Washington's out there.
I disagree there. I think the Pac-12 is much better this year. Utah, Washington,
USC,
Oregon.
I don't like Oregon that much. They talk about what's his name, that guy that's been there for transferred from Auburn, Bo, but I don't trust that kid.
Well, I mean, he had his best year in his first year over there under the new coaching staff in Oregon. And Michigan is my national championship pick right now.
Oh, I like them too.
Yeah.
I like them too.
Michigan. And I wouldn't be surprised
if the same thing in Michigan as you do in out west. You got Ohio State, Penn State's supposed to be better this year. I mean,
absolutely.
There's a lot of shitty teams there's a lot of crappy teams in the Big Ten, though.
There are a ton. I do believe there's potential for the SEC people are going to kill me here. There is a potential for a non-SEC championship game, I think.
Phil Steele was talking about Notre Dame being up there because they don't have much competition this year except for Clemson.
Yeah, but they, even if they get into the playoffs, they can't beat anybody. So
that's true.
All right, Corey. Gig 'em Aggies, baby. AP.
All right, buddy.
C Money from the tailgate, signing out. Let's see if I know how to turn this thing off.